Good morning, ASEAN. Freshen up your world, your thought, and your idea with us every weekday from 7:30 to 8 a.m. I'm Patsurang Desha Putharangsi.
And I'm Rina Zongbasit. It is Wednesday, the 24th of July, and the elections in Cambodia are coming up very soon.
Of course, it is one of the hottest stories in Southeast Asia as the political arena in Cambodia is getting heated because of the elections upcoming this Sunday.
Yes.
And of course, this election will not be the same. It's a totally different story from what was the election back in 2008 because Sam Rainsy, the opposition leader, a long time exiled in France, has been back home.
Yes.
But anyway, Mr. Hun Sen, the Prime Minister, is not bothering to campaign ahead of contesting his fifth election in 28 years. Such is his domination of Cambodia's state power. Well, this is considered a scripted victory for the strongman Prime Minister and Asia's longest-serving leader. He appears assured amid threats and intimidation against his political opponents and a powerful system of patronage networks and alliances that back him. But the election also exposes deep-rooted nepotism, undermining democratic processes that were installed by the United Nations 2 decades ago as the country emerged from civil war and genocide. Well, the ruling Cambodian People's Party, or the CPP, is fielding at least 10 candidates, Kunwina, who are the children of party leaders, including the Prime Minister's youngest son, Hun Mani, 31-year-old, and his son-in-law, Di Vichia, 32. So the presence of 3 of other Mr. Hun Sen's U.S. military-trained sons in key CPP and army positions is an insurance policy against any challenge to the power he has built on a brand of populism, nationalism, and cronyism, but which includes human rights abuses and restrictions on people's freedoms. So back in June, the CPP stripped all its 27 opposition MPs of their parliamentary status, rendering them ineligible to run elections. So since then, Mr. Hun Sen has warned civil war would erupt unless his party was re-elected and launched personal attacks on deputy opposition leader Kem Sokha, accusing him of adultery and pedophilia, among other crimes, without presenting any evidence. So Mr. Hun Sen, a one-time Khmer Rouge guerrilla who became a cunning political tactician, arranged a royal pardon for exiled opposition leader Sam Rainsy, allowing him return home last week to reinvigorate the opposition's last-minute campaigning without having to go to jail on criminal convictions he insists were politically motivated. So the move helped neutralize criticisms of Mr. Hun Sen's autocratic rule by foreign nations over land grabbing, military brutality against civilians, child labor, and attacks on community activists. So it also prompted spontaneous scenes of tens of thousands of excited young Rainsy supporters, though many of them waving flags with the Rising Sun logo, raising opposition party hopes they can improve on a combined 29 seats they won back in 2008. So perhaps wiping out Mr. Hun Sen's 2/3 majority, allowing him to change the constitution. So Kunwina, the show of democratic enthusiasm shall have its conclusion this Sunday.
Okay, and that's about Prime Minister Hun Sen. Now we move on to see the Cambodia's opposition leader, as he has appealed to the parliament on Tuesday that to reinstate him as a lawmaker, and that will make him contest against the Premier Hun Sen. Well, Sam Rainsy was greeted by huge crowds when he returned from the self-imposed exile last week after receiving a surprise royal pardon for criminal convictions he contends were politically motivated. But the opposition leader is barred from being a candidate in polls on July 28th after election authorities on Monday ruled it was too late to add him to the electoral register. In a letter to the parliament, Rainsy said his immunity and status as a lawmaker should be restored so that he is able to fulfill his duty as an MP. He urged the move in the spirit of Khmer, national unity and reconciliation. The opposition said restoring his status as an MP could allow Rainsy to contest the election as the party looks to loosen Hun Sen's near 3-decade grip on power. When he becomes an MP, he would be registered registered in the voter list and to stand as a candidate automatically, opposition spokesman Yim Sovan told the AFP. It was not immediately clear how the bid would be greeted in the parliament, which is dominated by Hun Sen's ruling Cambodia People's Party, or the CPP. Senior CPP lawmaker Shim Yep said the parliament would examine Rainsie's request, but he was unable to say when.
Let's go to Myanmar as the country agreed to release some 70 political prisoners on Tuesday, what an official said, after President Thein Sein vowed to free all dissidents by the end of the year. The move, the latest gesture of reform by the former general who has ushered in a period of sweeping change in the country, was greeted with caution by activists concerned that authorities are continuing to prosecute dissidents. So Presidential Advisor Lam Mong Shui, a senior official at the Myanmar Peace Center, he said that the president has signed an amnesty for about 70 political prisoners around the country. Last week, Thein Sein said there will be no prisoners of conscience in Myanmar by the end of 2013 during his first visit to London as part of a European tour aimed at burnishing Myanmar's international image. So rights groups and officials estimate there were between around 100 and 150 political prisoners in Myanmar ahead of Tuesday's announcement. So activists welcomed the release but voiced concern over new arrests in the country. According to Bo Chi of the Thailand-based Assistance Association of Political Prisoners in Burma, even if we welcome this release, quoted him, we are very concerned because of the new trials. They continue to send new political prisoners to jail. He said around 80 convicted dissidents remain behind bars, and one of those released anyway in the amnesty, Brang Shong, was only arrested last week in a camp for those internally displaced and held on suspicion of involvement with armed ethnic minority fighters from northern Kachin state. Lang Mong Sha said around 27 of those being released were rebels from Kachin, where the government is working on brokering on a crucial ceasefire deal, probably within this month. So he said some prisoners had already been freed. Back to Cambodia, as one of special reports here today is about the NASA World setting up its NASA Bikes 35 showroom in Phnom Penh.
NASA World is setting up its NASA Bikes 3S showroom in Phnom Penh, Cambodia. NASA hopes to win over 10% market share in the country, or 30,000 units, within the next 3 years. NASA Group of Companies Joint Group Executive Chairman Dato Wira SM Faisal SM Nasimuddin says the group plans to set up its own completely knocked-down plant within the same period to achieve the sales target.
NASA invested our own funds in Cambodia, in Phnom Penh, to set up a center. Not only a showroom, but actually a center where we can support the market better, and we hope to appoint 20 dealers by next year to support the market.
He told reporters at a media briefing on the company's expansion plan Monday. SM Faisal says the group have invested 1.5 million ringgit to develop the 7,000 square feet showroom with 100% ownership by NASA World. The showroom in Phnom Penh is expected to open in the first week of August. It will offer the company's popular NZ125R, NASA Blade 250 and NASA Blade 650 motorcycle models. With Cambodia being the benchmark, NASA Bikes plans to further extend its market in Indonesia, Vietnam, Myanmar and Laos over the next 2 years. NASA Bikes is a subsidiary of NASA World.
After the break, Southeast Asia tops the world's consumer confidence survey. A survey has shown that dynamic growth and an expanding middle class are making Southeast Asian consumers among the most confident in the world when it comes to their economic prospects. Indonesian consumers were the most confident globally according to the research by polling group Nielsen, while Southeast Asian countries figured prominently in the top 10 rankings during the second quarter. Indonesia had an index of 124 to top the rankings. Nielsen's global survey of consumer confidence showed well above the average of 94. Indonesia was followed by the Philippines with an index of 121. Elsewhere, India came in third, then Thailand, Brazil, China, United Arab Emirates, Hong Kong, Malaysia, and Saudi Arabia as the economies where consumers are the most confident about economic outlook. Nielsen's Consumer Confidence Survey gauges consumers' economic outlook as well as how confident they are about the job market, status of their personal finances, and readiness to spend. Overall, Southeast Asian consumers are feeling optimistic about the economic outlook compared to the rest of the world, said Vishal Bali, the managing director of Nielsen's Consumer Insights business in Southeast Asia, North Asia, and the Pacific. He added that minimum wages are increasing, as are foreign investments, and a growing number of consumers are entering the middle class. There's no doubt fueling the positive outlook we are observing, Bali said. As the middle class population across Southeast Asia continues to grow at a rapid pace, consumer spending in these markets is reflecting their newfound wealth, he added. The Asian Development Bank this month said Southeast Asia's economies are expected to expand 5.2% this year.
President Benigno Aquino III of the Philippines vowed on Tuesday to increase infrastructure fund to 5% of the GDP, a level that will attract more foreign direct investment before he steps down in 2016. Well, Aquino, in his budget message for the proposed $52.45 billion budget for 2014, said his administration is allocating $9.24 billion, which is equivalent to 3% of GDP for infrastructure next year. He said this allocation will pave the way for the increase in infrastructure spending to 5% of the GDP. For Renzo Abad, budget secretary, who submitted the proposed budget to Congress on behalf of the president, said investments in infrastructure will further rise to $13.57 billion and $19.05 billion in 2015 and 2016, respectively. International lending agencies such as the World Bank said the Philippines has to improve expenditures on infrastructure to catch up with the neighboring countries so as to attract more investments. So the World Bank has proposed that the Philippines should jack up its infrastructure investments to 5% of GDP by 2016.
And Association of Recruitment Agencies in the Philippines is temporarily barring its members from sending domestic workers to Singapore starting on September 2nd. It wants to convince agencies in Singapore to stop collecting placement fees from maids. Association of Licensed Recruitment Agencies to Singapore President Lucy Sermonia announced the move in a statement to media in the Philippines last Saturday. It followed the association's General Assembly last Friday, attended by 120 of its 130 members. The Philippine government's policy is that employers, not the maids, should pay the placement fees, which in Singapore average 2,000 Singapore dollars or $1,580 or 4 months of their salary. The Philippine Embassy in Singapore has stepped up enforcement in the last year, blacklisting agencies that flout the rules. But Philippine Labor Attaché Vicente Cabe told the Straits Times that the embassy is not involved in the upcoming ban and has not heard of it. The Association of Employment Agencies has not been officially notified of the ban, said President Kay Jama Prima. But she said that the move was likely to have limited impact as the Philippine Association has control over only its member agencies. There are non-members which will still continue to deploy maids here. She added that agencies can still hire maids who arrive on their own and those from other countries. About 70,000 of 209,000 maids in Singapore are from the Philippines.
Ford Motor Indonesia finally launched its new sales and distribution facility in Bekasi, West Java last week as part of the company's plan to expand further a new car market in the country. Built on a 4,700 square meter plot, the new outlet, which consists of showroom facilities and service pits for 14 to 16 vehicles, is the company's largest dealership within ASEAN. So Ford ASEAN President Matt Brantley said with the new dealership network, people around Bekasi would have more access to the company's new cars, such as the Fiesta. Meanwhile, Managing Director of PT Ford Motor Indonesia Bekasi Bagus Susanto said Bekasi is one of the most important markets in the Greater Jakarta area. He explained that since opening in April 2013, Nusantara Bekasi Ford dealership has sold 70 cars and serviced over 200 vehicles. So by the end of the year, FMI will open as many as 9 dealerships in Greater Jakarta and outside. For the opening of a dealership, their average investment is between 10 billion to 20 billion rupiah, or around $993,200 to $1.9 million. So Bagus concluded that Ford Motor Indonesia is focusing on launching their global products such as Fiesta in Indonesia. So the new Fiesta will be introduced in the upcoming motor show, which will be held in Jakarta this September.
The upcoming special report will be on investing in Vietnam, how crisis can be turned into an opportunity.
Turning crisis into opportunity amid the downward investment trend in Vietnam sounds too generally justified, especially when a huge sum FDI is being considered. Most investors would sometimes consider Vietnam as too risky to be floated due to high inflation. Joint venturing with local partners, although accessible, are often seen as too bureaucratic and lack of effective administration to deal with red tapes. These unfortunate facets have deteriorated foreign direct investment and drained investors' confidence in a time when Vietnam needs it most. Thai investors often disregard the fact that the neighboring country like Vietnam has many more attractive sectors and potential business opportunities that they're initially aware of. But Thai investors are what investment gurus call pessimistic and reluctant. But the pessimist attitude could be a little exaggerating. Chui Choi Shu, one of the most experienced Thai investors in Vietnam, has calmed the situation down, especially on the topic of inflation. He reiterated that Vietnam's inflation has never gone down, but never exceeded the targeted control. Inflation, for him as a businessman, is an indicator for every investor to think before action.
เพราะฉะนั้นปัจจุบันที่ว่าเงินเฟ้อเหลือ 6% เนี่ยนะครับสำหรับผมในฐานะนักธุรกิจเนี่ยตอนนี้เรากู้กันอยู่ที่ 14% นะครับซึ่งในตามตำราของภาครัฐเนี่ยต้องแม็กซิมัม 13% เพราะฉะนั้นเงินเฟ้อจริงๆในปัจจุบันจากดูราคาสินค้าเนี่ยตอนนี้นะครับประมาณ 12%เพราะฉะนั้นไอ้ตัวเลข6ก็ดี5ก็ดี7ก็ดี8ก็ดีเนี่ยมันเป็นตัวเลขที่เป็น2 ภาคนะครับขออนุญาตครับภาคโปรปากันดาเพื่อให้พวกท่านที่อยู่ในตำรานะครับวิเคราะห์เพื่อจะไปดูนะครับก็ใช้ตัวเลขอันหนึ่งแต่ไปจริงๆก็ตัวเลขอันหนึ่งที่พูดตรงนี้คือว่าตัวเลขเงินเฟ้อในประเทศเวียดนามนี่นะครับเนื่องจากเวียดนามเป็น currency ที่ปิดนะครับเพราะฉะนั้นในภาพที่เราจะเจอก็คือหมายความเราถือเงิน$1เข้าไปเราได้เท่าไหร่ถูกไหมครับปัจจุบันนี้นะครับถ้าท่านไปแลกนะครับที่บริษัทที่ในตลาดนะครับตลาดมืดนะครับก็จะใกล้เคียงกับในแบงก์วิธีแบงก์นะครับตอนนี้ท่านจะได้ 21,000 นะครับได้ประมาณ 21,000 ในตัวเลขในหนังสือก็จะบอกว่า2020 900ก็คิดว่าเงินเฟ้อในเวียดนามนั้นเป็นตัวเลขอันหนึ่งที่ต้องใช้ในการพิจารณาถ้าผมพูดแบบนักธุรกิจคือสนใจนะครับแต่ไม่ต้องใส่ใจมาก
As Malini Han Bunsong, the director of Thai Trading Center in Ho Chi Minh City, put it in a positive way that there's always an opportunity in the particular downward trend. She emphasized on how Vietnam is dependent on FDI, in which Thai investment is one of it, and other incentives Thai investors need to know.
ประเทศเขาเนี่ยต้องพึ่งพาเศรษฐกิจจากประเทศเขาก็นโยบายรัฐบาลเขาก็มีการส่งเสริม foreign direct investment นะคะ welcome ให้นักธุรกิจต่างชาติเนี่ยเข้ามาลงทุนนะคะในประเทศเขาก็มีการปรับระเบียบปรับกฎอะไรต่างๆขึ้นมาซึ่งตอนนี้เนี่ยถ้าใครมาลงทุนในประเทศเขาเนี่ยสามารถที่จะมาลงทุนและเป็นเจ้าของ ได้ 100% เลยนะคะแล้วก็เป็นเจ้าของกิจการจะสามารถที่จะมีการทำ transaction ในเรื่องการเงินได้คือเขาบอกว่าขอให้รู้ว่าที่มาของเงินที่เข้ามา invest เขาในประเทศมันเป็นยังไงเราก็สามารถที่จะเอาเงิน transfer ออกไปนอกประเทศได้ซึ่งเมื่อก่อนเนี่ยเขาจะห้ามไม่ให้มีเอาเงินโอนนอกจากประเทศ
ถ้าเราไม่มองถึงในเรื่องเรามาลงทุนแบบ foreign direct investment เนี่ยเราอาจจะมาตั้งทำธุรกิจใช่ไหมคะธุรกิจตอนนี้เขาก็เปิดโอกาสเมื่อก่อนเนี่ยการจะมาจัดตั้ง trading company เนี่ยทำไม่ได้ใช่ไหมคะสมัยนี้ไม่แล้วล่าสุดเนี่ยเพื่อเร็วๆเนี่ยได้ปรับเปลี่ยนนโยบายไปว่าโอเคต่างชาติเข้ามาแล้วมาเปิด trading company 100% ได้ค่ะซึ่งก็มีบริษัทหลายบริษัทเข้ามาอย่างเช่นพวกบริษัทซาบีนานะคะบริษัททีวีไดเรกอะไรพวกนี้ก็มีบริษัทพวก SME ของเราเข้ามาเยอะหลายกัน
Also, another thing that Thai investors could have overlooked is that products that are branded with Made in Thailand tag are very famous among Vietnamese consumers.
เป็นคนไทยแล้วไม่แบบว่าพยายามโปรโมทแบรนด์ของตัวเองขึ้นมานะคะแล้วก็บอกว่าเนี่ยคือของประเทศไทยเพราะว่าถ้าอย่างนั้นมันจะทำให้ได้แบบว่ามี power ได้เห็นแล้วก็ชื่อสินค้าไทยนี่ติดตลาดไปถามคนบริโภคของเวียดนามถามหลายๆอาชีพเขาบอกว่าเขาชอบสินค้าประเทศไทยเพราะสินค้าประเทศไทย 1. สวย 2. คุณภาพดี 3. ดีไซน์ทันสมัย 4. เชื่อถือได้
Kun Malini has some other suggestions for Thai investors eyeing market in Vietnam.
พี่ก็คิดว่าเวลาเรามาเนี่ยอย่ามาในลักษณะที่เป็นแบบมาร่วมแฟร์อย่างเดียวแฟร์อย่างเดียวเนี่ยโอกาสที่คุยก็คือมาขายแล้วก็มาเจรจาซึ่งมันโอกาสน้อยทางนักธุรกิจไทยอาจจะรวมตัวเป็นสมาคมนะคะหรือเป็นอะไรนะเป็นกลุ่มในแต่ละเรื่องนะคะอย่างเช่นอาจจะมาเป็นกลุ่มของทางด้านเท็กซ์ไทหรือเป็นกลุ่มของทางด้านเกี่ยวกับพวกอะไรนะคะสินค้าพวกไลฟ์สไตล์อย่างเงี้ยแล้วมาเป็นกลุ่มเลยแล้วก็มาทำมาเป็นมิชชั่นมาคุยเจาะเป็นมิชชั่นไปเลยเนี่ยพี่คิดว่าจะได้ผลมากกว่า
According to her vision, investors have to invest their time to do a feasibility study on Vietnam, at least to go online and search for relevant information on the country's economic and business atmosphere and consumer market. But the most important of all is to see the market and consumers in person, with your own eyes. However, she concluded that it's more lucrative for Thai investors to consider Vietnam as both cordial trader and active competitor. Patsurang Desha Puttarangsi reports. That's it for today's edition of Good Morning ASEAN. We'll see you again, same time, same place, same channel.
Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Weena Jongprasit.
And I'm Patsurang Desha Puttarangsi. สวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีค่ะ